Saying immediate all praises must go to the creative force, for it is he that revolves around us on this and every day. We want to thank the choir for their message of song. But we are indeed grateful. We want to thank them for that, and Sister Megan Davis and Jeremiah Wheeler for their message. And we appreciate all that has been said and that is done. And we thank the choir and Sister Claretha Elder, and our prayers are with Sister Elder and the passing of her brother. And so we want to acknowledge that as well. Brothers and my sisters, the doctrine of God shall drop as the rain, his speech shall distill as the dew, as a small rain upon the tender herb, as the showers upon the grass. Let us now drink from the waters of his word. There was a theological conference that was held in Atlanta in 1977, in which the topic of discussion was black theology in the black church. Reverend Dr. James Cone was one of the speakers and persons who presented a paper entitled Black Theology in the Black Church. Where do we go from here? In the section entitled The Roots of the Crisis, he wrote these words. He wrote, "Our crisis is spiritual, material, and moral. Black people seem unable to effectively counter disruptive forces that undermine our quality of life. We seem unable to collectively define our situation, discover the nature of our problems, and develop sustained coalitions that can resolve our dilemma." End of quote. The dilemmas that have grabbed us and held us in this position year after year after year, many among them, a lack of self-appreciation, a lack of self-motivation, a lack of self-belief, and a nagging falsity of how we seem to have already gotten over in spite of our condition. This does not even address the onslaught of societal racism or sociology and politics that deny us, or the obvious economic divestment that undercuts us. For those are obviously too many and can be easily categorized and called out by still others. Yet within this cultural, social, and spiritual maze is the misguided pride of a people that must come to grips with who they are and whose they are. We must also expose the false sense of wholeness, which is undercut by our spiritual leprosy. Our subject for a few moments is die with pride or live with power. Die with pride or live with power. In the book of 2 Kings, Israel has been subjected to the power and authority of Syria. They are under the boot of the Syrian government. And on a recent raid into Israel, Naaman, a renowned captain in the Syrian army, a man known all over for his courage and valor, great honor and skill, had brought back a Hebrew girl who was assigned to his wife as her handmaiden, her personal handmaiden. Now, this brother, who had received every military honor that the Syrian army could bestow upon him, but he had one problem. He was a leper, meaning he had a great sign of identification. He had what many would view as an infirmity, a curse. Yet we know from our own experience that if you can perform well, if you can jump high, shoot straight, run faster, catch better, hit harder, swing sweeter, dance faster, then the valor of your physicality can supersede the reality of your ethnicity. I was visiting a sister yesterday, and she was telling me that in her home were great cooks. Her mother was a great cook. She's a great cook. She makes sweet potato pies. She said her son was a great cook, is. And she said her brother was a great cook. She's 96 years of age now. And she said that when they were coming up, her brother joined the Navy. But he, age-wise, was not eligible. And so he joined the Navy at age 14. And I'm told you're supposed to be at least 16. This was during World War II. And she said that they kept him because at the Navy, in the Navy, when black folk were in the Navy, you could only do certain kinds of jobs. You were cooks, and you were folk that maybe guarded something, but you were not in the mainstream of Navyism. And the officers found out that this brother could cook. See, I don't care what service you're in, you got to eat. And you like to eat good. And they found out that he could cook and that he was an excellent, outstanding cook. So they made allowances for him in the service, even though he was age-wise ineligible. And they told her that every month they were going to send her a notice, a letter as to how he was doing. Now they're getting ready to submit his name into the Naval Archives because of the way he served and what he did in the U.S. Navy. See, if you can do certain things, then your disease becomes subordinate to the talent and the gift that you have. Can I get a witness here? You see, beloved, even though Naaman was accepted among the ranks of those who admired his prowess on the battlefield with his troops, they had a problem with him when it came to him coming to dinner at the house with his peers. He was a leper, a most undesirable individual. His skin was deformed. One day his Hebrew slave came up into his wife and told her about this man in Israel, the prophet Elisha, suggesting that if anyone could make down or over to see him, then the word even got to him and to the king. But if Naaman could do that, he might have a cure on himself. And so the word went to the king of Syria. He will send a letter to the king of Syria, of Israel, from the king of Syria, telling him to see to it that Naaman, when he gets there, is cured, and I will include 10 talents of silver, 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. This was the equivalent of over the 8 in cash and several changes of clothing. It was a most impressive gift to go for the cure of Naaman. Well, this caught the king of Israel off guard, for he knew that he could not cure Naaman. And he was not certain as to what was really going down. So he got nervous. He started thinking and wondering, is this a trick? He thought he was being set up for a breakup. He thought he was being set up by the king of Syria, and he started tearing his clothes off in frustration and anger. And Elisha heard about the letter and Naaman's desire and told the king, chill out, king, be cool. Everything gonna be all right. When Naaman gets here, just send him down to my crib, send him to the house so that he can be healed and everything will be all right. So Naaman goes to Elisha's house in his fancy chariot, dressed in all his military regalia, along with his appropriate escort, and stands at the door of Elisha's house. He don't even go to the door. He's just standing out there in his chariot. He don't even go. He don't even knock on the door. He just in the chariot. Don't this cat know I'm out here? Don't he see all this? I'm Naaman. He sends a messenger outside to meet Naaman. Tell the brother, tell him to go on down to the